This is 1961. This world, this peace, this simple life was a facade, a delicate layer of normalcy stretched over a world holding its breath. Because all of this, the children, the laughter, the future, almost vanished on a single Saturday. Not by a declaration of war, but because of a single, faulty $2 capacitor in a remote radar station at the edge of the Arctic. This is the Thule Air Base in Greenland, home to the Ballistic Missile Early Warning System, a technological marvel designed to give the United States a precious 15-minute warning of a Soviet nuclear attack. On October 5, 1961, at 9 a.m., the system went berserk. The screens at NORAD, the North American Air Defense Command, lit up. The unthinkable was happening. The system detected a wave of Soviet intercontinental ballistic missiles launched from Siberia, streaking over the North Pole. The countdown to Armageddon had begun. For 5 agonizing minutes, the entire defense apparatus of the free world believed it was under attack. Bomber crews across the United States and Canada scrambled to their planes. The engines of B-52 Stratofortresses, loaded with live nuclear weapons, began to spin up. Protocols were followed. The chain of command was activated. The world stood on a knife's edge. But one man asked a simple question. A commander on duty noticed something. The attack wasn't showing up on other secondary systems. The radar signature was wrong. It was too perfect, too massive. He hesitated. He challenged the machine. And he was right. The massive Soviet attack was, in fact, the moonrise over Norway. The radar had mistaken our own celestial neighbor for the end of civilization. This wasn't a one-time fluke. The Cold War was a terrifying 40-year period filled with dozens of such close calls, computer errors, miscommunications, spy games, and sheer human stubbornness that brought us to the very brink again and again. This is the story of when the Cold War went hot, and how the world you live in today was forged in those white-knuckle moments of sheer, unadulterated fear. To understand how we got here, we have to visit the 3 moments we came closest to the fire. First, the one you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis, 13 days in October 1962. But the story you learned in school is clean. The reality was messy. It was a high-stakes poker game where the chips were cities. When Kennedy announced a quarantine of Cuba, the Soviet ships just kept coming. The world watched, holding its breath, as the 2 armadas steamed toward each other. In the White House, a young President Kennedy was given a 1 in 3 chance of surviving the week, not from assassination, but from nuclear war. The real trigger pull moment came when US destroyers trying to force a Soviet submarine to the surface started dropping practice depth charges. Bang, bang, bang. Inside that sub, B-59, it was 120 degrees. The crew was exhausted. They hadn't been in contact with Moscow for days. The captain, Valentin Savitsky, thought war had already begun. He screamed, "We're going to blast them now. We will die, but we will sink them all." He gave the order to prepare the submarine's nuclear-tipped torpedo. It required the agreement of 3 officers. 2 said yes. One man, Vasily Arkhipov, said no. He argued for calm, for restraint. Because of one man's refusal, we are here today. Which brings us to a man you've probably never heard of, Stanislav Petrov. September 26, 1983. The Soviets' early warning system, just like the American one at Thule, lit up. The screen read, in stark, clear letters, "Launch." 5 Minuteman ICBMs had been fired from the United States. Protocol was clear: report the launch up the chain of command. The Soviet doctrine was launch on warning. Retaliation would be swift and total, but Petrov hesitated. His gut told him it was a mistake. 5 missiles was a ridiculously small first strike. The ground-based radar wasn't confirming anything. He had minutes to decide, trust the machine or trust his instinct. He reported it as a system malfunction. He was right. The satellites had mistaken the sun's reflection off the tops of clouds for a missile launch. One man in a lonely bunker saved the world. And just 6 weeks later, we almost did it again. NATO began a war game called Able Archer 83. It was so realistic, with coded communications and high-level political involvement, that Soviet intelligence became convinced it was a cover for a real, surprise nuclear first strike. The Soviets placed their nuclear forces in East Germany and Poland on high alert. Fighter jets sat on runways armed with nuclear missiles. This was it, the closest we've come to the edge since 1962, and it was all over an exercise. So, we survived, but what did it all do to us? The Cold War isn't just a chapter in a history book. It's the foundation of the modern world you live in. Let's connect the dots. That laptop you use to work from home, the internet it connects to was born as ARPANET, a Pentagon project to create a communications network that could survive a nuclear attack. A digital world born from the fear of a physical one. The GPS that guides your road trips? It was developed and perfected for the US military to guide nuclear submarines and strategic bombers with pinpoint accuracy. The same satellites that could have ended the world now help you find the best taco stand. The tech in your pocket? The space race, a direct Cold War competition, drove the insane innovation in microchips computing and miniaturization that gave us everything from digital cameras to the very device you're watching this on. The ghost of Sputnik is in your iPhone. So, we survived, but the wildest part, this is just the tip of the radioactive iceberg. The history we're taught in school is the sanitized version. The real story is filled with plots so bizarre, so secret, they sound like science fiction. What about the time the CIA tried to use psychic spies to remotely view Soviet facilities from a room in Virginia? Or the top-secret Project Iceworm, where the US military built an entire city under the Greenland ice sheet to hide nuclear missiles? How about the Soviet Dead Hand doomsday device, a fully automated system that, if it lost contact with Moscow, could launch a nuclear retaliatory strike all on its own? And some experts believe it's still armed and active to this day. If you think this video was mind-blowing, just wait until you see what's coming next. You're going to be amazed. So, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is simple. 1. Smash that like button. It's the best way to help this non-aligned, neutral channel beat the algorithm and spread the truth to other curious minds. 2. Subscribe for more secrets. Don't miss our next mission into the shadows of history. Consider this your personal direct line for declassified briefings. And 3. Sound off in the comments. This is an open channel. The conversation starts with you. The story isn't over. The history is still hidden. We'll see you in the next video.